Midterm season is still in full effect here at Trinity. Coming up, we've got advice on how you can best prepare to take on the test.
And President Beasley has been elected to represent Trinity and other small colleges before lawmakers in our national capital.
Stick around for all this and more right now on Newswave. Good afternoon, and welcome back from spring break. Today is Friday, March 21st. I'm Luke McCauley.
And I'm Michaela Mendoza.
Trinity's Near School of Business, or NBS for short, has been ranked as the 27th best undergraduate business school in the nation for 2025. The ranking, published by Poets and Quants, listed Trinity as having the best business school in Texas. The ranking is determined by 3 equally weighted categories: academic experience, admission standards, and career outcomes. The NBS ranked 12th in academic experience, largely due to the internship and research opportunities Trinity provides. Trinity also ranked 24th in admission standards, as the business school experienced a 10% increase in applications and a 2% drop in acceptance rates from 2024. The NBS ranked 41st in career outcomes, as 98% of students were either employed or in graduate school 6 months after graduation. The dean of NBS, Bob Schreier, had this to say about the rankings. Quote, "This ranking is a powerful recognition of the storied excellence that defines Trinity's Neardoff School of Business. Our faculty's dedication to teaching and research, our staff's commitment to student success, and our students' drive to lead and innovate." End quote.
Trinity University's International Student and Scholar Services, in collaboration with the Departments of International Studies, Political Science, Modern Languages, and the Center for International Engagement, recently hosted a screening of African Asylum Seekers in Texas, a documentary by Dylan McAndrew. Held in honor of Black History Month, the event highlighted the emotional journeys of African asylum seekers as they navigate the complexities of the U.S. immigration system. Directed by Trinity alumnus and international advisor Dylan McAndrew, alongside his colleague Joshua Lefwich, the documentary offers an intimate look into the lives of individuals fleeing persecution in countries in West Africa. McAndrew's inspiration for the film came from his time at Casa Marianella, an Austin-based shelter that supports recently arrived asylum seekers entering through the U.S.-Mexico border. He says, quote, "The film is more about the emotional experience of asylum seekers when they first arrive in the U.S. and the challenges not only of finding housing and social services, but also of grappling with identity in a new country," end quote.
Last week, Newswave's reporter Joey Mattingly asked Trinity students about how they prepared for their midterms. Take a look.
Hi, I'm Joey Mattingly, and I'm here with Newswave. Today, I went around asking students about their various study tips to help prepare you for midterms.
Midterms, only cover the section, or typically cover the section that you just went over. And so hopefully it's more fresh in your memory.
Find a group of people to do it with, to keep yourself accountable.
Midterm season is always stressful. I think no matter how many classes you're taking or the workload, it's always a stressful time because there's a lot of assignments going on. And don't be fooled, midterm season is not 1 week, it is several weeks. So it's more about perseverance than anything. Picking up a few extra hours of studying or work time that you might usually have set aside for leisure on the weekend might be something that you do temporarily, and I have found success in. And communicating with my professors more about, if a deadline isn't going to work or if I'm not really understanding anything. But it's important to also know yourself and to know that you need to still be sleeping and eating and functioning, because if you're not doing that, you're not going to be studying well, and you're not going to do well if you're not taking care of yourself.
During midterms, I feel like I'm really doing a lot of night owl shenanigans.
Make sure to actually get a good night's sleep.
Really, a lot of it's just going through my notes from the entire up to that point, just because midterms tends to be cumulative up until that point, so I just have to go through all my information, and the refresh of all my stuff kind of helps me.
Yeah, a lot of the times I'll create reviews. For myself, if my class doesn't give me one based on the content that we've covered, or I'll just like kind of chill with friends in the library, mess around a little bit for breaks, but also just like sit and just work.
Yeah, so generally during midterms, I like to do the Pomodoro method, which is where I set it varies between person and personal preference, but the way I do is I do generally 30 minutes of work, then take a 15-minute break, then do another 30 minutes of work, then take a 10-minute break, and I keep going down until I get to 0 minutes. And then I study even longer after that, or I can just take a big break and then start all over again. And that generally works for me.
I use Quizlet a lot. Quizlet's very good. The process of putting information into Quizlet in itself is a part of my studying. So I think just making Quizlets, even if you don't end up using them that much, that in itself is valuable studying.
What location do you like to study in?
The library.
I honestly recommend during midterm season that you go to that second floor or that first floor and you get a study room, because just sitting around your friends, for some people that can help, but for I think a lot of people, it distracts you because you'll start talking to them and you really just want to be able to sit down and focus on your work.
To check out study rooms in the library, you can go to the front desk and ask them, say, hey, can I check out a room on blank floor? And you can say like either first floor, second floor, third floor, fourth floor. Usually the sound level increases as you go up. So if you really want to get work done, then you can get work done on the second or first floor.
I like to change up where I'm studying, because usually I study in my room, but sometimes if I find a new environment, I'm less likely to get distracted by the things that I have around me.
So I love the courtyard that we're kind of out overlooking right now. For when I'm doing something like humanities related and the weather is nice and it's just kind of a casual environment because there's some people walking by, you're outdoors, it makes you feel a little more connected to nature. And then I really enjoy studying in the library, just being surrounded by books and a whole bunch of other people studying.
I like to study in the physics lounge, which is in Morris McLean.
Well, I hope we all learned something today. This is Joey Mattingly, signing off.
A familiar face will soon be representing Trinity and other nonprofit private universities in Washington, D.C. Over spring break, Trinity University announced that the National Association of Independent Colleges, National and Universities has elected Vanessa Beasley to serve as an at-large board member. The NIACU is the only national organization responsible for representing schools like Trinity in D.C. and Dr. Beasley was nominated along with 3 other university presidents. While continuing on as president of Trinity University, she will also advise Congress on issues like student aid, tax policies, and access to higher education. Dr. Beasley has since expressed her gratitude for the nomination and shared her excitement about the opportunity to collaborate with other universities across the country. We here at Newswave would like to congratulate President Beasley on her nomination and wish her the best of luck in her advocacy.
Still up ahead, the Department of Agriculture has cut programs that target food insecurity, how federal policies have impacted local food banks here in San Antonio,
And weather patterns are affecting water supply here in Texas, what state policymakers are doing to keep the Lone Star State hydrated.
Stick around, Newswave will be right back after this short message.
Whether it's our stories, the warmth of our laugh, or our family's secret sauce, we all bring something different to the table. So make some space. The power of connection is waiting right outside your comfort zone. Learn how you can help strengthen your community at belongingbeginswithus.org/teamup.
Welcome back to Newswave. Last week, the U.S. Department of Agriculture ended pandemic-era programs, resulting in a cut of $1 billion to combat food insecurity. For the San Antonio Food Bank, this means losing a program that formerly partnered with local farmers, as well as $3 million, which is 20% of their annual food purchasing budget. The food bank's CEO, Eric Cooper, stated the cuts will, quote, cause hunger in our community, end quote. Cooper also expressed concern over the increasing prices of food from tariffs. According to the Department of Agriculture, 63% of vegetable imports and 47% of fruit and nut imports came from Mexico in 2023. As the food prices increase, the food bank will have to use their $14.5 million for food purchasing, which is a third of its $43 million total budget. As developments continue, Cooper said that this year will be, quote, a difficult year for the food bank.
This year, the water supply in Texas will see extremely difficult times. These struggles stem from a combination of leaking water pipes and deteriorating infrastructure, prolonged droughts, record-setting heat waves that are depleting rivers, and the stress on the system caused by an ever-growing population. If droughts continue and proper strategies to secure water supplies are not implemented, the state believes that there could be a severe shortage of municipal water by 2030. According to state lawmakers, there might be a number of possible solutions, such as committing to an annual funding for water projects or tapping into new sources like oil and gas wastewater coming from the ground. However, coming up with a solution might not actually even be the hardest challenge. There are a number of lengthy steps to the negative process, and they all have to take place before a bill can go into law. According to the Texas Tribune, they are tracking 10 different bills. Hopefully the right one will help bring an end to these water supply struggles.
In recent news, Texas authorities made the first ever criminal arrest under the state's near-total abortion ban. Maria Margarita Rojas, a licensed midwife, was taken into custody alongside her employee, Jose Ley, and are facing felony charges for allegedly performing illegal abortions and practicing medicine without a license. An investigation began in January after an anonymous tip to the state's Health and Human Services Commission alleged that Rojas, who identified herself as Dr. Maria to her clients, had performed multiple abortions at the Clinica Waller Latino America. According to Attorney General Ken Paxton Rojas, quote, unlawfully employed unlicensed individuals falsely presented themselves as licensed medical professionals, end quote. The Texas Tribune states that Rojas was first arrested on March 6th for practicing medicine without a license, but was released on a $10,000 bond, and was then arrested again March 17th for charges relating to illegal abortion procedures. Her clinic was issued to be shut down while the legal proceedings took place. Texas has one of the most restrictive bans on abortion in the country. As this story continues to unfold, we here at Newswave will keep you up to date.
Still coming up, President Trump clashed with a federal judge on the issue of immigration, and tornadoes and dust storms ravaged the Southwest. This and more when Newswave returns.
How far you go in life depends on your being tender with the young, compassionate with the aged, sympathetic with the striving, and tolerant of the weak and the strong. Because someday in life you will have been all of these. All of us want to do well, but if we do not do good too, then doing well will never be enough.
Just recently, President Trump attempted to use a wartime policy, the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, to deport immigrants. A federal judge, however, blocked him from doing so. The 5 Venezuelan men who were fighting against Trump argued that the law should not apply to non-citizens from Venezuela, especially since the U.S. is currently not at war with the country. Even though the federal judge ruled against Trump, 261 people, 137 of those under the Alien Enemies Act, were deported, to which the federal judge responded by issuing a 14-day restraining order. The Trump administration argued that they had already been deported before the court order, to which critics, such as the ACLU, responded by saying that the law was being misused to target Venezuelans.
Imagine the eerie silence before a storm. That's what Missy Drope noticed just moments before a tornado tore through her home in Paragould, Arkansas. She and her family took cover in a single corner of the house, which, fortunately for them, was the only part left standing after the storm. Keely Drope claimed, quote, "It literally looked like God has held his hand right there over us," end quote. The weekend tornado outbreak devastated at least 9 states, leaving 42 dead. Missouri was hit hardest with 12 fatalities, while Kansas, Mississippi, Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Alabama also saw tragic losses. In North Carolina, 2 brothers, ages 11 and 13, were killed when a massive tree crashed through their mobile home. In Alabama, an EF3 tornado flattened homes in Plantersville, killing Antelia Owens' mother, whose body was found 350 yards from her destroyed house. Owens said, quote, "You wouldn't think just wind could do this much devastation," end quote. In Winterboro, Alabama, a tornado hurled a school bus into a high school gym. Among the dead was 83-year-old Harry Leon Fain, who had spent the last hours making sure storm shelters were open for others. The same deadly winds fueled wildfires in Oklahoma, destroying 400 homes and killing at least 4 people. While the tornado threat has passed, extreme fire danger remains across Texas and New Mexico, leaving communities to pick up the pieces. We here at Newswave offer our condolences to those families who lost loved ones.
Despite crazy weather patterns last weekend, spring break conditions are back in San Antonio. For more on the coming week's forecast, here's Newswave's chief meteorologist, Luke Morton. Take it away, Luke.
Hello everyone, I hope you all had a great spring break, and I'm excited to be back with you guys after a brief hiatus. So let's get to your weather for the week. This past week has overall been quite nice, albeit a bit windy. We saw mostly sunny weather with highs in the 80s and lows in the 40s and 50s. This weekend we'll see a bit of a warm up with highs in the mid-80s on Saturday and approaching the 90-degree mark on Sunday. There may be a slight rain chance on Sunday night, but that doesn't look too promising. Next week should be another nice week with highs in the mid-80s and lows in the upper 50s with partly to mostly sunny skies. Some rain chances may creep back toward the end of the week, but again, that isn't really certain at this point. Yesterday marked the official first day of spring, which means unfortunately hot weather isn't too far away. But it also means that our days are getting longer. The sun is setting around 7:45 p.m. now, but by June it should be setting around 8:45 p.m. So at least we will have longer days to look forward to. Anyways, that's going to be it from me today. I hope you all have a great weekend, and I will see you next week.
The stock market in the U.S. recently has been tumultuous to say the least, but according to Jennifer Timmerman, an analyst at Wells Fargo, quote, "The February retail sales report offers evidence of a limited, modest economic slowdown rather than signaling a gathering recession," end quote. This is evidenced by the S&P 500 rising 0.6%, the Dow Jones Industrial Average adding 0.8%, and the NASDAQ Composite increasing 0.3% this Monday. However, some companies are struggling to regain their previous footing, most notably the popular electric car company Tesla. Tesla stock has declined nearly 75% recently, but has dropped a shocking 41% this calendar year, despite President Trump's public support for Tesla and its CEO, Elon Musk. Analysts say concerns over China's tariffs and slowing EV demand have weighed heavily on the company's valuation, and only time will tell what happens to it next.
Coming up, an update on the war in Ukraine and how a man survived 3 months at sea. Newswave will be right back in 30 seconds.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize, and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes.
On Tuesday afternoon, President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin settled an immediate pause in strikes against energy infrastructure in Ukraine. During a lengthy phone call, the two world leaders negotiated the pause, but were unable to agree upon a 30-day pause in fighting proposed by the U.S. Throughout the call, Putin reiterated his demand for an end to foreign military assistance to Ukraine, and also sought for Ukrainian troops to withdraw from the 4 regions that Moscow annexed but never fully captured. Additionally, Russia is seeking Ukraine to fully renounce any prospect of joining the NATO military alliance, and a sharp cut to the nation's army. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky announced that he is seeking more details on the phone call and has rejected Putin's demand for halting military aid and intelligence to his country.
This week, Ukrainian soldiers in Russia fought in the Kursk region and were forced to retreat from the front lines. Ukrainian troops recount a catastrophic experience, facing heavy casualties and significant loss of equipment as 70,000 Russian forces increased their attacks with drones with the aid of 12,000 North Korean soldiers. In words of a soldier named Volodymyr, he described Ukrainian troops as, quote, trying to leave, columns of troops and equipment. Some of them are burned by Russian drones on the road. It is impossible to leave during the day, end quote. Another soldier, Maxim, described how Ukrainian forces struggled to maintain an organized defense, resulting in devastating loss of Russian drones and destruction of dozens of military vehicles. This retreat marks a significant loss for Ukraine, as on March 13th, Russian forces have claimed full control of the Kursk region, Ukraine being forced to abandon much of their military equipment.
On Wednesday night, the San Antonio Spurs broke an NBA record. With more on that and other sports news, here is Newswave sports editor Caleb Reed.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to Newswave. Spring break was a pretty busy one, so let's go ahead and get right into it. First off, for Trinity, the break started off with some pretty heavy win for the Tiger baseball team against McMurray, but they didn't let that affect them as they swept the Warhawks in a 3-game series here at home. That kicked off a week which saw Trinity go 6-3 overall with some very impressive performances across the break. Trinity beat Nichols 8-3, but DeSales started off a 3-game losing streak for the Tigers. Trinity lost a single game to DeSales before splitting their 4-game series against SUNY Cortland, losing 3-11 and 5-8 before winning 13-9 and 7-2. Trinity this week lost to UMHB and then won against Hardin-Simmons, and now will look to get back on the conference grind this weekend as they start a 6-game road trip, starting with Ozarks today, Saturday, and Sunday. Meanwhile, it was a banner break for softball as they secured 2 more conference series sweeps over the break, starting with their opening at McMurray. Poor weather forced the Warhawks and Tigers to head to the home of the Wildcats of Abilene Christian University for game number 1 of the 3-game series, and it saw freshman Mariana Garcia hit a towering blast for her first career homer. Trinity ultimately swept the series with 12-8, 7-3, and 7-2 final scores, kicking off a non-conference midweek showdown against the ranked Rochester Yellow Jackets. The game was a rematch against former Tiger head coach Abby Martin, and the Tigers pounced early, pounding the number 24 ranked Jackets in a 9-1 final in game number 1 that was ended by the run rule. Rochester responded with a 7-2 victory in game number 2, but it was Trinity's second win against ranked competition in just as many seasons, as Trinity defeated ETBU, the eventual national champions, in a game last season. Trinity then faced a conference 3-game series, and it was a very special series for more reason than one. Trinity earned a, by this point, routine 7-1 victory over the Eagles in game number 1, but game number 2 saw 2 special milestones. Firstly, Trinity batters sent 3 balls over the fence, with junior Carson Lee leading off the 3rd inning, sophomore Hannah Boudreau scoring in the 4th, and then senior Leah Gonzalez blasting a shot in the 5th. Trinity won 5-0, but it wasn't just any other shutout. Pitcher Megan Krischbaum secured another no-hitter, making it the 3rd no-hitter of 2025 for the Tigers and the 2nd by Krischbaum alone. This makes it the first time since 2006 that Trinity has secured multiple no-hitters in a single season, as well as multiple no-hitters by the same pitcher. Trinity now starts a 3-game series against Concordia later today at 6, before playing 2 games tomorrow, while a Wednesday midweek game against Texas Lutheran will wrap up a 9-game homestand and serve as a makeup game for the postponed home opener earlier this season. Over to professional sports, and this was just a game that was way too good to pass up. Sandru Mamukelashvili and the San Antonio Spurs had a night on Wednesday, defeating the New York Knicks 102-105. Mamu, who was born in New York, scored an astounding 34 points in the game, setting an NBA record for the most points in under 20 minutes on the court. The Georgian was just 1 shot away from perfect on the night, going 13 of 14 from the field and a perfect 7 of 7 from deep. The game was attended by Rock and Roll Hall of Famer Flavor Flav, and Mamu didn't disappoint as he was just one rebound away from a double-double performance. Despite a rough start to the season, this should hopefully provide some optimism for Spurs fans who have just 14 games left in the regular season. And now over to motorsports. F1 began its season with a pretty wet and wild Australian Grand Prix, which saw Lando Norris take the first win of 2025. With 6 rookies on the grid, this race was bound to be chaotic, and it was, as it was Racing Bull's rookie Isaac Hadjar who didn't even make it to the grid, crashing out on the second corner of the formation lap. Another rookie, Jack Doohan, crashed on the opening lap, but it wasn't just rookies that struggled. Carlos Sainz as well as Fernando Alonso were both victims to the weather, which led to chaos in the strategy. Poor communication in the Ferrari camp doomed their chances at a strong finish, while a mistake by both McLaren drivers, Norris as well as Oscar Piastri, saw the papaya pair slide into the gravel. Norris got away unscathed, but Piastri spun into the grass at the very next corner, getting momentarily stranded and then dropping back to the back of the grid. F1 now travels to China this week and to the Shanghai circuit for round number 2. And finally in NASCAR, Josh Berry scored the 101st win for Wood Brothers Racing in a thrilling Las Vegas showdown to claim his first career victory. The race saw a number of tire problems by competitors up and down the garage as loose wheels caused havoc throughout the day. Berry was engaged in a tight back-and-forth battle with Mexican driver Daniel Suarez over the closing laps, and with the two going the two ended up going side by side for multiple laps before Berry pulled ahead. The series now returns to Homestead Miami Speedway, the former home of the season finale and one of the prettiest tracks on the calendar, this weekend. And that's it from me. I hope that all of y'all have a wonderful weekend and take care.
A man was rescued off the coast of Peru after he was lost at sea for 94 days. Maximo Napa, a 61-year-old fisherman, was rescued from his small boat, which he had spent the last 3 months on surviving in the open ocean. Napa set sail last December 7th, but inclement weather swept his vessel to open water and sent him drifting out to sea. Napa miraculously survived by eating birds, turtles, and cockroaches, doing what he had to do to live. Napa attested that, quote, "I didn't want to die from my mother. I have a 2-month-old granddaughter. I clung to that. Every day I thought about my mother," end quote. Footage of Napa's rescue shows he could barely walk after the near-death experience. However, indications are that Napa will make a full recovery.
An American influencer named Sam Jones sparked outrage after she posted a video of herself snatching a baby wombat from its mother. She apologized, claiming that she was acting out of concern for the young animal's welfare. Additionally, she says she ran from the wombat's mother out of concern that it might attack her. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said that the video was, quote, "just an outrage," end quote. And Home Affairs Secretary Tony Park said his department was investigating whether Jones violated the terms of her visa before she left the country on Friday. Burke said, quote, "There's never been a better day to be a baby wombat in Australia," end quote, after Jones left the country voluntarily. Jones claimed she was concerned for the joey's safety when it did not run after her after she walked up to it. The video shows Jones and a man of camera laughing as she runs away from the wombat, Joey, and Jones saying, "I caught a baby wombat." Animal welfare experts said that Jones could have seriously hurt the wombat by dangling it by its forelegs the way she did. Jones apologized, saying, quote, "I have done a great deal of reflection on this situation and have realized that I did not handle the situation as best as I should have," end quote.
Sadly, that is all the time we have for this week.
Tune in next Friday, March 28th, for more stories from across campus and across the world.
Until next time, I'm Michaela Mendoza.
And I'm Luke McCauley. We'll see y'all next time.